I got passion, wear it like a fashion trend. I got ambition, yeah, I'm on a mission I got a vision, I got so much intention. Yeah, I got motivation, I stop until we taking this. They say it's cool not to care. I care too much. They say I break the rules. Well, I got charisma. All my life I tried. All my life I tried to be like you. Tried to be like you. There's no stopping me now. Stopping me now. There's no stopping me now. Stopping me now. Coming to me. Yeah, yeah. Coming to me. Yeah, yeah. I like good things, focused on the positive. I'm emotional, I'm a stubborn optimist. All this hating people make me wanna throw up. All these fake people got me screaming, grow up. I got love, yeah, I'm making that my mantra. All my hope through these speakers like a monster. I got passion, wear it like a fashion trend. I got charisma. All my life I tried. All my life I tried to be like you. Tried to be like you. There's no stopping me now. Stopping me now. There's no stopping me now. Stopping me now. Coming to me. Yeah, yeah. Coming to me. Yeah, yeah. Spend every second making sure that I got trying to make my way into the circle with my rectangle. It was all in front of me. Then it hit me suddenly that my coffee loves kick. My coffee loves kick. Being everybody's cup of tea. All my life I tried. All my life I tried to be like you. Tried to be like you. There's no stopping me now. Stopping me now. There's no stopping me now. Stopping me now. Coming to me. Yeah, yeah. Coming to me. Yeah, yeah. Coming to me. It was all in front of me. Then it hit me suddenly that my coffee loves kick. My coffee loves kick. Being everybody's cup of tea. It was all in front of me. Then it hit me suddenly that my coffee loves kick. My coffee loves kick. Being everybody's cup of tea.
You're listening to the RMPodcast, the official podcast of Red Moon Productions. Here are your hosts, Brandon Davidson, Keith Cheatham, and Sean Sebastian. Enjoy.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Red Moon Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian.
Sean Sebastian. What about you over there?
I was waiting for you to say my name too.
Say my
Well,
name,
and-
say my name.
Well, you said his.
What?
I
Oh,
want you to-
sorry. And Keith Cheatham.
Okay.
Did I say Sean?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I didn't
Yeah.
even know.
I just thought you were introducing us now.
Oh.
We're not allowed to speak for ourselves anymore, Sean.
No, our voice has been taken away.
It's been taken away.
Yes, we are not allowed to be heard.
No freedom of speech.
Well,
Well, it's the
try.
media.
obviously talking about the controversy with Richard Jewell playing a big role.
You know what
today
else
in
is
the
controversial?
news. What?
Your face.
Klaus!
Oh,
Oh, that's
She
right.
sits there with her light that's still out, blacker than her soul.
It hasn't collected enough children's souls yet.
It has
I
not
know.
collected the souls of the innocent.
Well, we could barely get on time, so
Yeah.
I don't expect Klaus,
Klaus
ever
strikes again,
to light lit.
sabotaging the Red Moon podcast. The Klauses knew not want the Red Moon podcast to reveal their sinister deeds.
Oh, wow.
Sakes, he does that so beautifully.
He
well.
does.
I'm just saying.
I'll say, too, sinister is a word that you don't get to use enough.
You don't get to use
No,
that.
and that was beautiful.
That and carcass.
Carcass.
You don't use carcass
Yeah.
a
No,
lot.
you don't.
Actually,
There was a
you-
me and this was a couple years ago, but like me and a friend were like driving down like the Greenbelt, and there was a dead deer on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Look at the deer carcass." I was like, "Man, nobody ever gets to say that."
Yeah,
like
that's true.
carcass.
Like, look
so,
at that dead deer.
Yeah.
I mean,
uses
that's what
that
most
word.
people say. I used to say it because when I was little, I ate a wasp carcass, and I just got a kick out of saying the word.
Carcass.
You ate it?
Yeah, I ate it.
Why?
It was dead, and
So?
I was
When things
little.
die, you
That's-
eat them.
That's the prerequisite. It's got to be
It's like
dead.
Grandpa's dead. Get your forks.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't go to cannibalism. Come on now.
Okay.
I'm not going that far.
I
It was
mean-
behind. I don't know. It was like I was little. I think it was behind. I remember it. It was behind my mom and dad's recliner, and I just like was I don't know. I was crawling around back there, and I saw it, and I think I stuck it in my mouth.
What?
I was just little. I don't know. I was young.
Did you get stung?
No, it was
Okay.
dead.
It'd been there for a while.
Well,
probably.
they say even like dead that you can get like
The
if you touch
stinger
the
is
stinger,
there.
you can get.
Oh well, yeah. No, I think
It was like one that had died a month ago, and it was just still laying behind the couch.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like
So
the
it was crunchy.
exoskeleton. Yeah.
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 The
It was,
exoskeleton. That's another freaking word you don't use very often.
An exoskeleton.
Yeah. It's like
Those are
when
talking
you
about like a movie.
when you
or
gonna
something.
use that one?
But that was the weird thing. Is like I didn't eat it for long. They saw. Apparently, I guess I grabbed it,
Yeah.
came out from behind the recliner, and I ate it. And then they saw, and they were like, "What did you eat?" And like they grabbed it out of my mouth. And
Oh,
hooked it out.
you
Real
thought it
quick.
was an M&M, but it was a wasp.
Yeah. I mean, I thought it was.
I
Like,
don't know who looks at a dead wasp and is like, I'm gonna put that in my mouth.
I don't know. Well, when you're little and you don't know what the hell it is, I
Well,
mean, it's just like
He's
it
no
looks-
microchip.
Oh gosh.
That's where it started.
That is where it started.
Wasp venom.
See, what if I was the
If
wasp?
you ate that wasp, you'd get a rival.
Oh gosh. That's where it was. It was
It
in
started
the venom.
back there.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Yeah.
Venom,
See what
The venom
happens.
took it away from you.
I'm just terrible.
Okay, well, anyway, we've got a great show.
We do.
Would
we have
you
an
like
excellent
to
show. We
continue on
full
with
full of Christmas wonder and gangsters. So
Yeah, they go together.
yeah.
What
But
do you expect?
I'm going to let Gunther introduce our Christmas movie. So you have Klaus over there. They don't want people to know, but even the Martians, they hate the clauses.
The Klauses?
Yeah.
Or the Clauses?
Both.
Oh.
I was like, oh wait, who's on which planet? Do we have claws and they have Klaus?
you see
I mean,
that even the Martians are no match for Santa Claus.
Mm.
And that leads us to our review of the next movie, Christmas movie, So Bad It's Good.
Wow, I want to know about this
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
here it is.
one. What is it?
That's it. Santa Claus Conquers
Oh.
the Martians. Oh, there's nothing like Christmas time. When joy and laughter fill the air, trees and decorations go up, and children eagerly await the arrival of Old St. Nick to deliver toys and goodies on Christmas Eve. Yes, Christmas is full of magic and wonder, flying reindeer, talking snowman, and disgruntled Martians. Isn't that what Christmas is truly all about? Ah, yes. Our reviews of Christmas films So Bad They Are Good had to land us here eventually. The 1964 classic ranked amongst the worst films ever made, along the likes of Trolls 2, Plan 9 from Outer Space, and The Room. This is the review of Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. One of the most abysmal films ever crafted from a man who had actually been nominated for an Emmy in his time, Nicholas Webster. The movie itself, however, was the love child of producer Paul Jacobson, who only wanted to make films for children. What the pair created may go down as the single worst children's movie and Christmas classic of all time. Yet the film is still a cult classic all the same. On Mars, King Kimar and his wife Momar are worried that their children Gurmar and Bomar are watching too much Earth programming. That's right. Becoming addicted to the pop culture of Earth children television, they are, of course, most fascinated by Santa Claus. Because what child isn't? Mars has a rigid society that does not nurture individuality, And to allow the children this freedom, the Martians conclude that they need their own Santa and decide to kidnap Earth's, because why not? And so they do, along with 2 Earth children used to find the real Santa. As Earth has so many fake Santas, the Martians couldn't discern which one was real. They set up a shop for Santa to make toys on Mars, but there are those who oppose allowing the children to have newfound individuality and set out to kill Santa. But through the machinations of one Martian, Dropo, who is inspired by Santa, the day is saved, and Dropo becomes the new Martian Santa, allowing the Earth children and the real Santa to go home. The plot, of course, is ridiculous, but hey, played the right way, the film could have been a laugh riot and at the least entertaining for children. Played the wrong way, it's a horrible mess that would be forgotten as the bad movie it is. But neither of these things happened. Instead, we get a film that doesn't feel planned at all. Yes, it has a plot that is followable, but with names like Kimar and Momar, which are quite literally representations of King Martian and Mom Martian, yes, that means Gurmar and Bomar also mean Girl Martian and Boy Martian, you wonder if anyone was even trying. The production quality is amongst the worst I've ever seen. From cardboard robots to green face paint, the film looks worse than anything made in the early days of filming, let alone the 60s. Yet all of this adds to its charm. It's hilarious in all the best ways, because someone thought this would be good. Someone thought children would love this movie. The film does try to capture the Christmas spirit, but fails miserably to do so. There are lessons to be learned somewhere amongst the chaos on screen, but they are never truly driven home. And the film, which could have had a lot to say about commercialism and childhood, is just another silly film that tries to tap into the magic of Santa Claus, albeit on Mars. Yes, it's a terrible film that is silly and awful, yet it's hilarious. And while it may not be appreciated by its intended audience, it frankly deserves the cult status it has garnered. Despite the fun you'll have watching it, however, I still can only give Santa Claus Conquers the Martians 1.5 out of 4 stars. And there you have it. 1.5.
Gurmar.
Well, at least the Martians know there's a difference between boys and girls.
Not for long.
I could not get through reading or recording that review without laughing. In fact, you can hear a little bit of laughter in the finished product. That was the best I could stifle it when reading the name Kimar and
He's got the word
Momar.
stifle. I like
Stifle,
that
that's
word
another
too.
one.
It's another one. He's got him tonight.
No, when I was recording it and I first came to Kimar and Momar, I could not keep it straight. I laughed for a good 5 minutes before I could get a straight enough face to record it. Yeah, Santa Claus Conquers the Martians is definitely up there with the likes of, like I said, Trolls 2, The Room. It's one of the...
I'm sorry, but
Yes,
I
it
think
is.
Trolls 2 has to be better than this movie.
It's classic.
It's
Trolls
up
2,
there with how horrible,
bad
it is.
how
Yeah.
horrible
Good.
they are.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
And
okay.
man, I tell you what, you watch this movie, and even the poster, which is advertises in space blazing color, and you watch this movie and the color is awful, the production value is
I was gonna say,
awful.
it's an easy
yeah.
movie you can
It's
see on
1964,
and
so
it's bad.
you can you've seen movies from the 60s, hell, even movies from the 50s that look like they have a production budget that's millions of dollars worth more than this piece of crap.
I don't know if you said it in the review, but I'm just reading this on Wiki. This movie took 2 weeks to film.
Yes. It took.
2 weeks.
They filmed it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
They probably wrote it in an hour. It's man. I mean the robot in it is literally a bunch of cardboard boxes, like a man in cardboard boxes, spray painted silver. The polar bear in it is a man in a polar bear costume that looks just awful. It doesn't look anything like a polar bear. I mean, it is an amazing movie though. You watch it. And it's just like when you watch Trolls 2 or The Room, and you're sitting here thinking somebody really thought they were making something special.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No
And
doubt.
it is just the biggest dumpster fire of a Christmas movie. And yet somehow it's magical all because of that.
Yeah.
Literally, you can't watch it. I mean, when the opening shot are of the kids watching TV, and it's the opening shot, actually it goes through this whole Christmas song. The opening credits is this Santa Claus Christmas song, which is actually kind of...
Oh no!
It's annoying but
trust
catchy.
me.
It's,
Okay,
it's,
well,
it's,
while I was editing this, I tried to find some music.
excuse me.
Oh yeah.
That's about what.
and you heard the opening credits song, right?
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, that was the thing. I was trying to find just music without any kind of singing.
Yeah.
For the
Oh, no,
bed,
there is none.
music bed.
There is
no, there is none. Then I heard this.
Yeah.
And it
Can
was,
you play? Are you able to play it?
I'll try to
okay.
pull it up.
I will keep talking. But yeah, it opens with that song, which is decent, I guess, but it is very like one of those things that are just annoyingly like childish and sweet, where it's kind of like it grates your nerves a little. But at the same time, you're like, okay, it seems like a stereotypical Christmas film type opening, so you're getting into it like, all right, we're in for something here. And then it opens up on a television with like toy ads and Christmas, and then it pans out from the TV, and it's two kids sitting there watching this, but they're green with like these helmets on their head and antennas, and they're sitting there real stiff, just staring and not blinking at the TV, and you're like, okay, what's going on here? Not knowing that these are Martians because they just look like people painted green. And then when they're like, what's a doll? It's like, I don't know, Gurmar. What's love and compassion or whatever? And they're like, I don't know. And you're like, what is this? And then the whole thing of them coming up with, like, the king wants to kidnap Santa basically for his children, and they have to kidnap Earth children to find the real Santa because there's too many mall Santas. I mean, you don't know. I mean, who's the real Santa?
Right.
No, honestly, I will say, when you mentioned that, I thought that was a good plot point.
It is a good plot point.
I mean,
how do you know who the real Santa is?
Yeah,
So
exactly.
you got to kidnap kids so you can come rescue them.
Yeah.
And they build him a workshop, and they get into all kinds of hijinks, and they try to kidnap the real Santa, the villain does, but he kidnaps the fake Santa, which is Dropo, and then the real Santa has to
Whoa.
save the day, and then they find out, oh, Dropo has the spirit of Santa, so he's going to be the Martian Santa, so Santa can go home, and that's a very, very simplified version of this movie, but it's hard to it's hard to get into just the
Sounds like it.
craziness. I mean,
I don't know. I think, honestly, it was like you said in the review. If you gave it the right kind of
I mean,
attention,
they
it
fight a
could be
polar bear at one point
hilariously
and a
bad.
robot, and you don't really understand why.
Yeah. I mean, it could be hilariously bad.
It is hilariously bad.
But at the same time, it could also be well done. It could be well done.
That's the thing. Like
in
I
a
said,
decent way.
the thing is,
the plot's not awful.
it's like it kind of reminds me of that children's movie about like the aliens that kidnap Mars Needs Moms. That's what it is.
Yes, yeah.
About like, you know, they need so it's like Mars needs Santa basically, and it's like, okay, it could be a cute children's film, but one, it's live action instead of animated, and the live action effects are terrible, so you can't really buy into the aliens kidnapping Santa. And then two, the plot is so ridiculous, and so like I said, it's like when you have names like Kimar and Momar and Gurmar and Bomar, and they're just terrible. Like, it's like at one point they go see this sage whose name is literally like Hebrew for sage.
Yeah,
Yes.
it says that in Wiki.
Yes.
Yiddish and Hebrew.
It's for sage. And they pronounce it like they mispronounce it. I forget what it is, but they don't pronounce it the way it's supposed to be pronounced, just so it's different enough from that. But still, it's the same thing. It's like, we need to come up with names. Oh, we'll just make random. I mean, Dropo.
Dropo. Yeah, well, I don't
Who
know
knows?
what's wrong with that.
Who knows?
I'm trying to play it. I'm trying to get
You tried to
song.
find the song?
I think I found
I
the
could
song.
probably play it on my phone.
I think this is it.
Yep.
This is it.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of something that it's. It kind of reminds me of something that Rankin Bass, like the stop motion. It reminds me of something they would have done. So it's like when it comes on, I'm like, okay, this seems like, you know, for the time period, something that makes sense.
Normal, yeah.
And then after this song, everything else just goes. Woo!
Well, like you said, it's really mainly about like the I'm telling you, when I watch the clips, because you can watch the whole movie on
Oh, you
YouTube.
can. It's free.
Can just, yeah,
it's in
free.
public domain. Voodoo has it
Nobody
for free.
wanted the rights for this.
If you have a Voodoo account, it's on there for free. Tubi, the streaming app, it's
Tubi.
it's free. It's on there
Movies
for
and
free.
TV, yeah.
So you can find it lots of places for free, but it's
It's bad.
one of
It's
those
bad.
movies where if you have a Christmas party with alcohol and you're like, hey, let's watch this thing because it's going to be a laugh riot while not sober.
Well, and I think, you know, so we can aptly name that Santa Claus Conquers the Martian is definitely not a great movie. but
Even the
worth
name,
watch.
like it's like,
Yeah.
I mean
I mean,
he
that
doesn't
too.
really conquer Mars.
Well, that's what I was
mean,
wondering.
you
I'm sitting there, I'm
know.
like, why does Conquer even in it? But it's like I really don't
It's got to
know.
sound more epic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They kidnap him and he wins.
I mean, I seriously think of like
he's
this
Santa
reign
Claus.
of terror with like he's got his like fighting reindeer coming down to just storm Mars.
Yeah.
And I mean that would be pretty awesome. I would love to see a movie like that. if we could get that kind of movie made.
It's
There's
like
a
the
lot
Martians are attacking. Call in Santa Claus.
But we also did, like you said, we have Santa Claus and we have Mob, which you would think with Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, you would think the mob is involved somehow, but it's not.
Sometimes.
Maybe.
The mob's involved in everything, man.
They got their hands.
They get
in
presidents
everything.
elected. They get Santa to conquer Mars for them. I mean, that's how the mob works. The mafia, man.
Yeah.
No, I know. Well, so should we just jump into our next?
Well, it's a much better film.
I agree.
That's true.
I haven't seen that one, and I agree.
It's no less entertaining, though. I will say that. It's a much better film, but no less entertaining.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, then let's move on to our review. Finally, as it's been out for several weeks now, of The Irishman.
Martin Scorsese has spent most of his career making mafia and crime films. He's been nominated for and won multiple awards and has been praised for his craft, but has also been admonished for glorifying criminals and the gangster lifestyle. His latest film, The Irishman, however, serves as a culmination of every mafia movie he's ever made, and is far from praising the events displayed in its lengthy 3.5-hour runtime. Based on the novel I Heard You Paint Houses, a memoir written by Charles Brandt from confessions given to him by Frank Sheeran, aka The Irishman, Frank in the film is played by Robert De Niro and follows Frank through his entire career as a hitman for the mafia. Frank, who is a delivery truck driver and union man accused of theft by his company, is defended by Bill Buffalino, portrayed by Ray Romano. Through this connection, Frank soon meets crime head Russell Buffalino, portrayed by Joe Pesci. Frank begins working under Russell, and his skills as a hitman see him rise through the ranks. Frank, after having garnered some notoriety amongst his peers, is enlisted in becoming the personal bodyguard for Teamster Union President Jimmy Hoffa, portrayed by Al Pacino. Throughout the film, Frank's family and relationships with those he considers friends are examined, showing the strain such a lifestyle has on Frank and those he loves. The Irishman sets itself apart from many of Scorsese's previous entries in gangster filmmaking, yet feels right at home amongst them too. While many of Scorsese's previous works felt grandiose with many twists and turns that one would expect from organized crime, The Irishman feels somehow simpler yet no less epic, showcasing that even the criminals who live to die of old age don't get happily ever afters. The film is brilliantly written and directed, which comes as no surprise from a Scorsese production, with De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino giving some of the best performances of their careers. Scorsese, no longer a younger man himself, uses The Irishman to tell a story of a man approaching the end of his road, looking back on the decisions that forever affected everything in his life. It's a cautionary tale that is made all the more effective by its longer runtime. No major production company in Hollywood was willing to back this film, and after watching the film, it's easy to see why. The film is slow, but it is also precise. Yes, it's a long movie, but it also needs to be. There is little fat here, and while certain things may have been cut to quicken the film's pacing, they also would have lessened the film's impact. Of course, the long-running time and story are only a portion of what makes this film. Through use of CGI, Scorsese showcases the film's biggest characters as played by Pesci, De Niro, and Pacino, throughout their lives, de-aging them for scenes of them set in the past. While this technology has been used quite effectively before in Hollywood, most notably by Marvel Studios, I could argue Scorsese uses it for greater effect than any filmmaker has as of yet. Seeing De Niro's character age throughout the film drives home the lesson and helps you connect with a man who is now reflecting on his past sins, something we all face as we age. Using the big three of Scorsese's gangster films, De Niro, Pesci, and Pacino, on top of everything else that helped to craft this movie, truly adds a sense of a closing chapter on much of Scorsese's works. The Irishman has a solid message to tell and works as a response to many of Scorsese's naysayers. Already it is being considered Scorsese's magnum opus, and while I'm not yet willing to give it that title, I will say it does add a nice cap onto Scorsese's gangster films, and is amongst his best works. I give The Irishman 3.5 out of 4 stars.
Ooh, and I completely agree. 3.5 out of 4 stars. Actually,
3.5.
What I was I was honestly.
I was thinking
well,
about three and 3.75, but
Well,
Can't do that.
no, it
for
was
Jacob.
you know what? I'm just not going to mention him anymore. Yeah, that's right, Jacob. No, I am actually on the same boat. I was towards 3.5.
Yes, I was.
I wasn't really on the 3.5, 4-star border. And part of that was because, again, I agree with your review. It's not that the length was anything. It wasn't a problem, but again, and again, there was no fat, but it wasn't. I don't know. There were just there wasn't enough so enthralling to keep me so interested. It was a good movie. Don't get me wrong.
It's
it was
hard,
a good movie.
It's hard to pinpoint anything that could be taken out. Like I said in my review, if you took something out, it would have been less impactful. But at the same time, the pacing wasn't quite as like I told Sean, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's a long movie, but the pacing's so good you never get a lull. This movie, I mean, you're interested and invested the entire movie. You are, but there's still a few moments here or there where I kind of felt my mind wandering. I was like, oh, hold on, I need to pay attention here.
Yes,
and they're few and far between. Like, I won't say like it kept my attention for the most part, definitely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sean, what about you?
I gave it 3 stars.
Okay.
I didn't really have any major gripes with the movie. I didn't feel like it was. I wasn't on that 3.5 to 4. I was kind of at the 3 or 3.5.
Yeah, that's so.
But I went down to 3, and I'll tell you why. You probably will disagree with me because you've already been vocal about it. But I felt like the movie would have been better as a series. And I'll tell you why, though. It doesn't really have anything to do with the length of the film. It has to do with the dense nature of like the first hour of the film. Like I felt like all of the historical stuff that was going on, the Bay of Pigs, the Cuban Missile Crisis, JFK, like all this stuff going on.
Yeah,
that's so interesting to me that I would have rather seen a couple of hour-long episodes that really delve a little bit deeper into that side of it.
Yeah,
just
about
the historical part. Their involvement.
Yeah,
because I felt like it packed so much information just into the first hour that could have been, spaced apart a little bit better for a series. But maybe the only other thing that it really surprised me, because going into it, I didn't even know what the movie was about. I didn't read anything about the movie other than Scorsese's name attached to it.
Yeah,
I had no idea it was about Jimmy Hoffa. I had no idea.
I didn't either.
So you don't even see Al Pacino until after about 45 minutes to an hour into the film.
Yeah, exactly.
And that surprised me. I was just like, I thought he was in this movie, and then an hour later, there he is.
And it's like he is in a majority of the movie.
It's
just like the last
majority. 2/3 of the movie.
It's kind of like you see like Joe Pesci's character, Russell, for like the first half of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he's still in the entire movie, but he's a bigger part in the first half. And then the second half is like Al Pacino's Jimmy Hoffa.
Yeah.
And even though they're both significant and major players in the movie, it kind of like shifts focus a little bit from like, here's Frank's beginnings with Russell Buffalino, which is Joe Pesci, and then here's where he kind of ends up with Jimmy Hoffa, and they all like kind of connect in like the fact that they're all involved with the mafia and how things that
well, it's interesting too because I mean this movie's obviously gotten a lot of buzz. It was controversial at first because everybody was kind of like a 3.5 hour mob epic.
Yeah.
Nobody picked it up, but now everybody is watching it. Everybody is humongous like critical reviews.
Oh yeah,
in terms of like all of them are on par with saying it's one of the best films of the year. Obviously, Golden Globes coming out and then nominating it for at least 6 awards. It's definitely to me because of the performances and because of the story and the nature of it.
Yeah.
I guess the reason why I wouldn't necessarily agree with maybe turning it into a series was I did read Martin Scorsese. He commented on that.
Oh yeah. I know what he said. Yeah,
and the thing was he was talking about it just being solely about the Jimmy Hoffa I don't know what you want to call it. It was just like conspiracy of what happened with him when he went missing.
Yeah, because
but also the
still
fact that
no one knows for sure what happened to him.
Yeah, no, they don't. But it was like it based on the book. I Heard You Paint Houses. The whole idea was really kind of just this culmination of this one guy from his perspective throughout the whole
well,
thing.
for all this stuff, like, because I did look at the hit, because I mean that's one thing that like even I told Sean, like you have this fascination with like serial killers, but for me like American organized crime is something I've always been very fascinated with.
Yeah.
So I already knew some stuff about Jimmy Hoffa and some of the things that are going on, and like looking into some of the facts and stuff, like everything that Frank that's in this movie is exactly what Frank Sheeran, the guy whose memoir it's about. has like confessed to. So basically, he has said that he did kill Hoffa and he did do all these things. But there's other people who are saying, well, he says that, but we think he's lying and he's just trying to bolster his.
Right.
So it's kind of like we don't know. It's like, yeah, he says this is how it happened,
which is so funny because that's what you'd expect from the mob.
Yeah.
Come on, you'd expect them to all be like, no, he doesn't got it right.
Yeah.
I'm the one that did it. But at the same time, I still think that there's this, for the most part, what didn't edge it out for me of being a 4-star movie was not necessarily the length as much as it was just, and this sounds bad, but more of a straightforward story, you know? And it wasn't that I was disappointed. Obviously, 3.5 is still a very great score. It's just it wasn't enough of an impact by the end of it to really make me think that it just stood out. I felt like other movies I could have got the same. I could have got the same message from.
I like the fact that they ended it with the whole he's kind of reflecting on how all of these events affected his life and his relationship with like his daughter and his family. Yeah. But even then, I felt like they didn't include enough of that to really drive that impact home as effectively as they could have. Like I got it, but I was like, it wasn't the emotional a payoff as what I like to see from movies like that. Yeah. And another thing is, early on, some of the CGI for the de-aging, when they revealed some of it before the movie released, some of it looked a little bad, but by the movie's premiere, I thought it looked fine.
Yeah, they must have made some improvements because it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, it was amazing.
The only issue I had were there are a few scenes where, bless their hearts, Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, they are old men. You can de-age them, but they cannot move like young men. And there's a couple scenes where they're supposed to be young and doing stuff, and they're shuffling around, and I'm like, ooh, you got you look young, but
perfect
you don't.
instance. And I agree completely. Perfect instance. He grabs his daughter after the store owner slaps her on the wrist.
Yes,
and
that's
he goes
the scene
down
I'm thinking of.
And as soon as he gets it, and I'm thinking, oh, this is gonna be good. He's gonna pull him out. And I thought it was gonna show like the way the scene sets up.
Well,
it
when
shows
you see
a
Taxi
wide
Driver,
shot,
or Raging Bull with Robert De Niro,
yes.
you know
what he's capable of and what he's capable of pulling off on screen. Yeah. But it's so cool because you see the storefront. And it's like it's got this wide shot, and you're thinking like, oh, he's going to go into the store, and he's going to beat him behind the counter, and you're not going to see a whole lot. You're just going to hear the commotion, which would give a great effect. Yeah. No, he pulls him. He ends up kicking him out of the store, breaking the storefront glass, which is great. But then he gets him on the curb, and he starts like kicking him,
and he's
stomping him, and he's like,
and he's supposed to be like, at this point, he's supposed to be like in his 30s. Yeah. So it's like this 30-year-old man can't even beat up this. And
it looks bad.
When
it looked bad.
Al Pacino's character, Jimmy Hoffa, when he dies, that was another scene where like he doesn't fall, like he kind of like kneels down, and I'm like, ooh, that was a little bad, like because he's older and he can't really drop to the floor, like and he gets like shot, and he's just kind of like.
See, I didn't even really. I mean, I noticed the one you're talking about, Brandon, at the storefront and the curb and everything. Yeah. But I didn't even notice the fall. Like that didn't even.
Oh yeah, he kind of like kneels down.
Yeah,
instead of falling.
I didn't catch that. I felt like the movie but it's still a good movie. The pacing and stuff was good for kind of a slow movie. Like I mean, it's a lot of talking. Like I mean, there's not a lot of action. Yeah. Like I was expecting with the cast. I mean, it's everybody from Goodfellas except for Ray Liotta. Yeah. And I'm just like. I was expecting it to be kind of like Goodfellas, where there's a little bit more action and a little bit more just, I mean, I hate to say it, but a little more violence. Yes. And, it's Martin Scorsese. Yeah. But there's so much, like, quiet intimidation from Joe Pesci and from some of the conversations that they have that it did give me those kind of white-knuckle moments. Yeah. But it was just through dialogue and not through action.
Or violence or full-on action.
So that may have slowed the movie down for me, but it didn't make it feel
that much more intense.
No, it didn't make it feel like a 3.5-hour movie. It felt more like a 2:45 or something like that.
I would agree because it's like even The Departed doesn't have a lot of violence, but everything builds to just that culmination. I mean, you see the intertwining and interweaving of the stories.
At some point it's going to blow. Like it's going to go off like a ticking bomb.
Right.
And this movie, I don't feel like it ever really had the explosion, but it had a lot of firecrackers. It had a lot of like smaller, pops to it.
But it's interesting you bring that up because that was the same problem I had with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah, is because I thought when you think about Inglourious Basterds, it's in the same vein.
There's not a lot of action until the end.
Yeah,
until
the
very
different
end.
kind of movie for Tarantino.
Right.
But that was one of the reasons I enjoyed it.
Yes,
because I like seeing a writer and a director go a different direction than what they've always done before.
Well, Tarantino's dialogue's so good that it'll carry the film anyway.
The dialogue makes the movie.
One thing I did enjoy about this was the nature of the fact that because you do follow them through their lives and like they end up by the end of the movie they're old men. And I did love some of those instances where like he's talking about like, oh, you don't even, people know Jimmy Hoffa disappeared, but that's all they know about him nowadays, like young people, and kind of the way he talks about like the past being a ghost.
Yeah.
And then it like kind of like that ghost, of course, in his end like is haunting him now because of the things that he kind of did, but at the same time it's not, because like he told the priest he doesn't really feel remorse. It's just what he had to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, it is interesting to see that aspect of a gangster film, because you know, with Goodfellas, Taxi Driver, like all the other Scorsese films, you just see like where they are in that moment and what they're doing as gangsters. With this, it's kind of like I said, it makes a nice cap on all of his gangster films, because it's kind of like Scorsese saying, I'm older now too, and I kind of want to finish my gangster film sagas off with something that says, hey, yes, there's violence, and people have said, you know, oh, you're just glorifying the mafia, but it's like, not really. I'm not at all.
He
just
never
saying,
has.
It's
I
like,
mean,
well,
even in
The
Goodfellas,
The Departed,
it's like everybody dies.
Everybody gets what's coming
it's
to
like,
them.
come on. I mean, that's the I mean, if there's anything that he's shown, it's just that you're in this world. It's like crap's gonna happen. You know, I mean, that's the beauty
once
of
you make
Goodfellas.
that decision for your life, that is your life. Like there's no getting out of. Like once you're in,
there's a beautiful scene that I love is when, and it's kind of like, you know, De Niro knows it's coming, but he's willing to wait until the very last minute when he knows he's going to have to do the dirty deed.
Yes.
But he goes in there and he talks to Joe Pesci in this little restaurant diner that's closed. Of course, they're hiding out there.
Yeah.
And he's having breakfast with them, and they're just eating cereal. And Joe Pesci just goes, you knew we had to bring you. Like, he's just like, you knew it had to be you.
Yeah.
And I just like the way he tells him, he doesn't tell him like, I'm going to break some news to you. He's just like, the others and I have talked. You got to be the guy. Yeah. You knew it was coming. Come on. And but I love it because it's like the loyalty is always there until it's against you.
Yeah.
And that's the point and the message of Goodfellas, The Departed. It's like all of these different movies that he's done as crime dramas. It's like
they pretend like they have honor, but there's really no honor. It's just whatever serves
honor
them
among
best.
thieves.
Yeah. And it's for one, I want to say that I didn't realize how much I miss Joe Pesci until he's back. Like seeing him coming out, seeing him come out of retirement to be in this, and like he was so good in this movie. I was like, man, I really miss seeing Joe Pesci.
Yeah.
But the whole movie, like even like the conspiracies with like the whole fact they were like, oh, we helped Kennedy win the election, and it's like, which is another thing that's like, could it be true? It's possible. I mean, you'll never know. Heck, with voter fraud today, back then it would have been easier to get away with.
Oh hell yeah!
So
way easier.
So all of the stuff behind the scenes that it's like well, we can't say this is true because we don't know for sure, but it is a possibility. Yeah. And that's the stuff I find fascinating. And this movie was so full of those details.
Oh yeah, I mean the mob had their hands in almost everything in America. Yeah. I mean, they really have. And this movie like dives into the depth of their. I mean, it really shows that there's not a lot that they haven't touched.
Right.
And that was one of the things. Like I said, that's one of the things that interested me so much towards the beginning of the film, that I was kind of like, man, I really want to see
how it plays out.
I want to see more of this. And see. So I can understand that. Yes, the movie fits well in a 3.5 hour film,
but you would have liked to have seen.
But I really would have liked to have seen it as a 10-part series.
I mean, it is a long
like
movie, but I mean, it like I said, it's hard to pick anything that could have been taken out.
I almost would like to see the series, but maybe not from. Well, actually, told in this perspective, but from like maybe another director or something. Yeah. Like for me, this was great in terms of putting like it being about Jimmy Hoffa and his disappearance. Yes. But at the same time, I think. You keep talking about the cap that it puts on, in terms of his mafia films. It kind of puts a cap on, just I think these stories in general, or what happens to the mafia in general, because it's like you grow old, you die, but it's like also it shows how far or how much power they've lost over the years. Yeah. How it's like they've all kind of died. And they never really got out of the business.
Well, I mean, the organized crime of today is not.
It's nowhere near like
as organized.
Exactly.
He's got random people running around shooting each other.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's about the only organization you have.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is, it's a great movie for him to end kind of his. And we don't know. Maybe he'll make another one. But it's like if this is his final mobster flick, it's like a great story to tell because it also shows you kind of how over the course of time, because his story ends pretty much in the 80s when he's a bumbling old man.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is what it comes down to, is it's like, even though he survived, organized crime became, that was his life. It basically cost him his family. And now he has nothing left, and that whole world is dead.
Yeah. I thought one of the best scenes that showed that world was dying was the scene of them all as old men in prison, when it's like him and Joe Pesci, and they're all just sitting there like, this is it. This is what we have left.
When he's feeding the bread, breaking the bread,
and I'm like, that's
beautiful.
all that's left. But it was really well done.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic movie. Absolutely.
And it's free. You can watch it on Netflix. So
well, it's not free. $15 for 1 month.
True. You have to pay for a Netflix subscription,
for 1 month.
But I mean, heck, $15 is the price of a movie ticket almost anymore sometimes.
But you also get another great movie, which is Marriage Story.
That's on Netflix.
And I just watched that recently. Fan-freaking-tastic movie.
I haven't seen it
Adam Driver, Scarlett Johansson.
We almost went and saw Honey Boy, but that didn't happen.
Yeah.
The forest happened instead.
So you were playing a game instead of going to see. Okay.
Yeah, we literally decided an hour before we were supposed to leave for the movie.
Let's just
stay home and play this video
I'm trying
game.
to think of if there's been anything like other than this that I've watched recently that I can comment on, but mostly I've been watching Star Wars again. So.
Yeah.
Well, we're all
ready
getting
for next
prepared.
week.
Exactly. I was going to say next week's going to be a special short episode because we got a midnight release coming.
We're going.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
hey, it's happening.
It's happening.
But the thing is, though, is we have, with those two movies being on Netflix, Irishman definitely being one worth checking
Netflix
out.
has a few things that have kept me, that I'm like, okay, I might have to get back into Netflix because they got some good stuff coming.
They're kind of doing the same thing that theaters are doing, where they're releasing them closer to when they'll get the buzz for award season. Because right now is when the nominations are going out. Right now is when you have these films being released to the public to get a little bit of their flavor of what they think of it. So it's almost like Netflix is kind of doing the same thing.
Well, I also feel like some of these releases, like with The Witcher coming out soon and everything, I feel like some of this stuff was also timed to compete with Disney Plus because they knew Disney Plus was coming out now.
Very true.
They knew they would have competition, so it's like, well, now we're going to release all this great stuff because we want to make sure we keep our subscribers.
Well,
The Witcher's coming out right when The Mandalorian ends.
Yeah.
And I think that's perfectly timed. It's going to pull people away because really The Mandalorian is the only new show that Disney Plus has that is drawing attention. And I think The Witcher is going to do that. And what was the other one that they have another fantasy?
Oh, it's not
Not
close,
this year.
It's not close to being done, but yeah, they had
the Narnia?
Chronicles of Narnia.
They're going to do Chronicles of Narnia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wait, Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix has the rights to Chronicles. They're developing a Chronicles of Narnia series.
Which is interesting because Disney had the rights before.
Right.
And that's who made the film.
Well, and Disney fudged it up, so
exactly.
it would be interesting to see Netflix come back and be like, oh, we'll show you how to do it right.
Ooh, if they can pull off The Witcher, that's the one I'm very curious about.
Yeah, from what I've seen so far, I'm pretty intrigued.
There's a lot of fantasy series coming out from streaming services. We had a whole conversation at Brian's about that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's interesting just to have The Witcher be coming out the same year that Game of Thrones ends.
Yeah.
And then there are people comparing it in terms of,
see, I don't think that's fair. It's
I don't
two
either.
Completely different stories.
Really?
Like, I mean, it's not...
Game of Thrones is supposed to be kind of a more like... Even though it's
fantasy epic?
Even though, yes, there's dragons and stuff,
but
it's supposed to be more realistic, whereas The Witcher, like, he's supernatural and, like, strength and such.
It's monsters and witchcraft and
warlocks
magic and potions and all kinds of weird stuff. So
well, and that's that's the interesting thing, though, is it's still this kind of medieval epic.
Yeah.
And, the violence is supposed to be on par with, apparently more than anything we've seen in Game of Thrones.
They said it's supposed to be pretty graphic.
And so that alone, and then plus having a huge star like Henry Cavill playing Geralt, it's like, I'm interested. They've got me intrigued. I want to see.
In the game, it's pronounced Geralt.
Oh, I'm sorry, Witcher fans. I'm sorry, I screwed it up. I'm a Final Fantasy guy.
Just like it's not Jennifer, it's Yennefer.
Yennefer?
Yennefer.
He did that on purpose, douchebag. Whoever wrote that.
Yanni. It's Yanni.
Yanni.
No, but the thing is with those two movies, coming out on Netflix.
Well,
Marriage
Netflix
Story
needs some
and
help.
Irishman.
Yeah.
But the thing is the Golden Globe noms dropped.
Yeah.
And even though we've crapped on them, they took home.
Well, they deserve a good crapping on.
Well, most of the time.
I'm happy with their picks.
I was gonna say
some of them.
A lot of them that they have come out with this year were almost in the. I know you all have seen a majority of these films, and they actually.
Some of my problem with them is that these all seem like easy picks, and I feel like there's been better movies that have come out, but they're not going to because they're like Peanut Butter Falcon.
I'm upset that that's not on here.
Yeah. I feel like some of those smaller movies are going to, even at the Oscars, I feel like the Oscars are going to overlook them for some of these bigger movies like Knives Out.
Yeah.
And it's like, I like Knives Out, but I don't think it's Oscar worthy.
I think Knives Out's going to get...
I don't think it'll get an Oscar.
I don't think it'll get an Oscar
I just mentioned it specifically because Golden Globes nominated it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it'll get, definitely.
But again,
now, Jojo Rabbit,
but here's the
I
thing.
was pleased to see.
Yes.
But we've talked about this in years past about how the Globes for the last at least 5 years have not been a predictor of the Oscars, and the Oscars have usually went a completely different
I feel like
route.
the Golden Globes try to pick more of the more popular, like they still pick movies that they feel are like, like they don't do like Black Panther like the Oscars where it's like we're just gonna go pure fan service, but I still feel like they try to pick movies that are still solid and deserve recognition, but are still more mainstream.
But here's the thing with The Irishman getting 6 noms and Marriage Story getting 5. Netflix walked away with 34 nominations total, 17 of which were film.
Kind of crazy for a service who doesn't deserve to be nominated because they're a streaming service.
Exactly, and that's my question: is has streaming won? Based on the Golden Globe nominations and what we've talked about on this show, it's like we only have more streaming services.
When you got
coming.
a powerhouse like Scorsese backing
It's
you
like-
up, it's kind of like, hey.
Well, and especially
doing
because
something right.
Hell, nobody else would make his movie.
No.
And now it comes out, and it's like the production studios passed on it, and now that may get the recognition.
Yeah,
and
well, because they
Netflix
scoffed at a
also
film that was so long.
Netflix also released the data of how many people watched The
It's
Irishman.
massive, yeah.
When you multiply that by the average movie ticket, it's sitting at around $250 million in as much as it's grossed.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that people won't watch it, obviously, from here on out. And that's also saying that it was a huge movie to make. Don't get me wrong. It was, I think, $200 million plus to make it.
But that's $250 million in 1 week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's in 1 week.
Yeah.
That's insane. And it had all the publicity leading up to it. But the thing is with these movies coming out and now the award season, here's the thing. I think it's kind of a point of contention to say, or maybe it's a little bit too early to say have streaming services won, because they're just getting nominated. We saw this with Roma last year.
Yeah.
Roma got nominated, it won and took home a lot, even Best Director, but it didn't win the grand prize Best Picture.
Right.
So the question is it really going to have to be that these win the actual award other than just getting nominated?
I would like to see them win one day when they truly deserve it, but that has to be seen yet. The fact that they have so many nominations, I think, is already saying they're winning, because the fact is there's so many of the old guard in Hollywood that says that they don't deserve to be nominated at all, and they're still getting nominations, and they deserve those nominations. So in that fact period, they're proving that they have movies that are just as good, if not better, than movies that are being released theatrically. As far as winning goes, I think that's just a cherry on top, and it'll happen when they have something that's truly worthy of winning.
I don't see this as a win. I see it more as like they're actually in the game now.
Yes.
Like I know like a couple of nominations, that's fine, but I'm looking through some of these that are on the Golden Globes, and I'm just like, man, there's
34
a couple of different
nominations.
Yeah, there's a couple of different Netflix things that are really standing out to me, and I'm just like, they are in the game now.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time before they win. The Irishman could produce something like that, this year. I don't know, but I still think Once Upon a Time's Best Picture.
I agree with that.
Really?
Out of everything that Golden Globes has nominated,
and I think I think Once Upon a Time's gonna get Best Actor too.
Out of everything that the Golden Globes have nominated, I would agree with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And so
But
far,
that
I don't
was
know
musical or comedy. Okay.
Yeah, well, they didn't know where
Yeah.
else to put. It's you
That's
always
what
see
I
where
hate about
you
the
always see when
Globes.
Golden Globes, it's like they nominate their 5 dramas, and then anything else
Yep.
they want to nominate, but they didn't for the drama section. Like just throw it into comedy and music.
I've seen Rocket Man twice.
I don't
and
think
I don't
it's
agree
worth
with
it.
that even being on here.
No, I agree. I don't think
It's
should
not
be on there.
Bohemian Rhapsody. It doesn't. I don't think it belongs on here.
You know what my favorite nomination from the Golden Globes was so far, though?
What?
Lion King for Best Animated Film.
I know.
That's terrible.
The fact,
No, that's fantastic.
the
They're
fact
at
that
least saying
it was
it's an animated
It was
film.
touted as live
Live
action,
action.
but they
Yeah.
nominated for anime because it's all fake.
It's
Everything's
completely
CGI.
animated,
Oh,
but it doesn't
so-
even deserve that nom.
No,
So,
it doesn't.
Yeah, exactly.
Honestly, I'm really hoping every year the How to Train Your Dragon films, I'm like, they're so good. I wanted them to win Best Picture, but Pixar would come out with something that was just that much better and
Yeah.
deserved to win. So How to Train Your Dragon would lose. This year, I can't think of anything better than that.
I'm sorry, but Toy Story 4 does not deserve
Nor
to
does
win.
Frozen 2.
No.
Frozen 2 doesn't deserve.
No.
How to Train Your Dragon 3. This should be its year, but we'll see.
We shall see. But the thing is with all those noms, I mean, I still don't think the Golden Globes are a good predictor for Oscars.
No.
I think it's still too early. Honestly, I'm not going to give my Oscar pick for Best Picture just yet.
Well, I haven't seen enough of everything
well,
yet.
And it's fair to say that it's like, I could throw it out there based on because nobody knows the noms; they're not
based
out.
on what you've seen, what would you say? I kind of want to know.
That's
I do.
a tricky one.
Based on everything I've seen so far this year, I have to go with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah.
See, I don't know if I could do that. I don't think it was good enough film. It's not my favorite Tarantino.
But I think
film.
it's better than everything else I've seen so far.
I don't.
Well, I haven't seen Marriage Story. And
I haven't seen Marriage Story.
I want to see
yet.
that, and then they've got
I do
1917 on here. I haven't seen that.
I
either.
think Marriage Story.
That's not even
it's
out
not
yet.
out yet.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's still yet to come out or wide release. But I do think Marriage Story will win Best Screenplay. I think it deserves that. The writing is spectacular.
Okay.
It's fantastic. Get a chance to watch that. I'm not even going to go with The Irishman.
No, I wouldn't either.
There is a film that I'm thinking
My
of.
top 3 films so far are Jojo Rabbit, Peanut Butter Falcon, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those are my top 3 films of the year. Yeah.
Holy crap. But is that based on what you've seen nominated?
That's
based off
on
everything
what
I've seen.
Everything
this year.
you've seen
All
this
the
year.
movies I've seen this year,
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know there's one sticking. I don't know it yet. I've got to think about all the movies that I've seen that we've done like reviews of, because there is one.
Maybe Joker, but I don't even put it up with the 3 I just named.
Yeah.
Even
See,
though I gave it 4 stars, but I mean I don't put it up with
interesting
those
because
3.
I would definitely pick Joker above Once Upon a Time.
really?
Really?
Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
No doubt.
I mean I
That's-
love Joker. I thought it was a great
I-
movie, but I like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood more.
Yeah.
No, I definitely the ending for Once Upon a Time was not exactly the way I wanted it to go for a Tarantino
Well, too
flick.
bad. They
Yeah,
don't make
you don't
movies
always
to go.
get what you want.
Then that's fine. That's why I'm not picking it.
I think Once Upon a Time might be my second favorite Tarantino movie.
Yeah. Pulp
Damn.
Fiction's
Yeah.
number 1.
No, my gosh, no. Inglourious Basterds
Maybe
is
third,
still
because
up
Inglourious
there.
Bastards is
Kill Bill's
is-
still up there
yeah.
because that's completely different than
I
anything
like
we've
Kill Bill,
done.
but I would say Once Upon a Time beats those for me.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, look, y'all are fair to pick. I would just say
I'm not saying your opinion's
But,
wrong. It's just your
but
opinion.
based on everything you've seen this year, what's the best movie
that,
you've
and that's
seen
the thing.
so far?
I can't.
Yesterday.
Yesterday
That was
was
a
a
really
great
good
movie,
one. It
but I
was.
was not. No,
No, it's
that's-
not.
Here's the thing. I really have to look back at the catalog because I don't remember everything that I've seen. But I would not pick Once Upon a Time. I would pick Joker over that, but I would not
Okay.
pick Joker as my favorite film.
Okay.
And once we get y'all, we'll
It will
talk
be
a little bit
interesting
more
once we
about
get
this.
to Oscar
And-
season.
well,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I just truthfully got to look up to try to remember everything that I've seen.
There
this
has
year.
been so many.
There's
There
been
has been a
so
lot.
many
well,
good
I mean,
ones.
well,
this
heck, we
year.
do a review every week, so
and it's hard to pick, but it's also
that's
hard to
300.
remember.
That's at least 365 movies.
But the fact is we would say that even before the Golden Globes absolutely win, or before streaming services walk away with a win at the Golden Globes or even the Oscars, the big picture prize, it's the fact that they've come to the table and they have so much already nominated is a win in and of itself.
Yeah,
and it already
absolutely.
shows, I think, tremendously the way the industry is moving forward. To compete in this industry, you're almost going to have to be it's not going to be a problem to be a part of one of these streaming services. In fact, it's going to be such a key play to be a part of it that it's better off if you make a deal with one of the streaming services in the future.
Yeah.
Because I think at the end of the day, those are going to be.
Oh, they win an
how-
Oscar, then it's like cemented that. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, that
yeah.
streaming services are always going to have a place at the Oscars. Like,
Yeah.
there can be no.
They just need one big one. Like
Yeah.
they need one Best Picture, and if they get that, I think it's
Yeah, because I mean, people can say Spielberg can say all he wants. Oh no, that's not the way cinema's supposed to be. So they shouldn't
he'll
be
be signing
nominated,
with
but-
Netflix. If
Well, he's
they win
already
an
got
Oscar.
it. Yeah,
He's already got Apple TV Plus. I
But
mean,
that's
you
not
know,
a movie.
I
not a
don't-
movie.
Oh,
movie.
of course not. That's what he says, but it's still it doesn't
It's
matter.
a series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Movies are only for theaters.
I'm still waiting to see what he produces, but I'm sure
So far,
if it's a
nothing that's
hit-
been on Apple TV Plus has impressed me. But
Well, I know we'll see.
We'll see. We'll
But
see.
They got plenty of noms too.
Oh, they got
so, and
great
they've got
talent. Yep.
more coming. Apple finds a way usually. So all right, and
well, they used to.
I guess we're ready to move on to our multimedia segment.
I agree.
Oh, let's do it.
Multimedia. Multimedia.
Multimedia.
It gets me every time. he
Every
says
time he
that.
says, love it.
Multimedia.
There's the original voice.
Yes.
You know what we're talking about today?
I think we should give Gunther his own segment.
Actually, I want to know what Gunther's favorite. Well, I know what his favorite movie was. Jojo Rabbit.
Oh Lord!
Ooh, we're popping.
Yeah, we are
Crackling.
I think that's just in the headphones.
that's
just
just
in the
the
headphones.
headphones.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's not.
That's not on air. Don't
Sorry,
worry.
folks. We hope if we're cracking, let us know.
Well, we're always cracking.
Oh! Cracking jokes.
Oh, mom.
Dad puns.
All right, our multimedia segment this week is. Well, Sean brought it over.
What did you decide on?
I brought
5 minutes ago.
I want to bring this up because
Sometimes we just fly by the seat of our pants. We don't even know what it is.
Well, when you start late, you just have to. So.
Yeah.
But no, Sean brought over his VR last week.
His VR.
His VR. I don't want to
Make
say
it
which
sound
one
dirty.
It is.
He brought his VR over.
Well, there are some dirty things that are associated. Well, we aren't going to go there though. But no, Sean, I don't want to say the brand just yet because there's tons of VR.
It's a virtual
devices.
reality gaming set, basically.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
for
like
people who may not know.
But the thing is they have come a long way, and they have touted through all of these different iterations of certain kinds of VR units that they're finally on par with something that is worth talking about.
Yeah.
You have the PlayStation VR, you have Oculus Rift, you have the Vive, I think is what it's called.
HTC Vive.
HTC Vive. You have
Steam's got their new thing. They got their own thing coming out now.
Steam VR. Ooh, yeah, with
I forgot what it's called, but
Oh yeah. Half-Life looks
Alex. Yep.
Yeah.
That looks good. But the thing is
amazing.
the first time I wanted to try the PlayStation VR a while back because I have a PS4. I knew a few people who had got it and were talking about actually it's worth it.
Oh, at the time, I mean, it was a huge thing and was one of the best VR headsets you could get.
It's still
it's
selling.
it's still
well.
considered. Yeah, it's still considered one of the best.
Yeah, but it's like I was never convinced to get one, but I also never tried one. Sean, you got the Oculus
Quest. Yes.
which is a completely wireless,
Totally wireless
VR headset.
Yeah.
Which, for after using it, is the only way I would want one.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing is. Well, explain it to us a little bit, Sean.
Well, it was an early Christmas gift for me and my oldest son.
Did you help conquer the Martians, so they gave it to you early?
No. No. My mom was like actually trying to think of something, and she wanted to get me and Sawyer something that we can do together. And usually my mom is kind of like if she's going she goes bigger, not at all. So I couldn't really think of anything, and she was kind of hinting around, would you think one of these would work? And I was like, yeah, that'd actually be pretty cool. So she ended up giving it to me early because the Oculus has been running. Well, Facebook is the one who makes Oculus, and they've been really driving the marketing and stuff for this thing up for Christmas. So they were giving away the Star Wars game. It's like a series for free if you bought it between certain dates.
Yeah.
So
you had
to activate it. You had to activate it within 30 days of buying it. So I knew that she had it, and I had to call, and I was like, hey, when did you buy this? Because I need to activate it in the next 30 days to get this $40 set of games for free.
Yeah.
And that's going to probably end up being before Christmas. So she let me come over and, hook it up and activate it. And she was just like, just go ahead and take it home. You just ain't getting nothing for Christmas now. So, but basically, like, I had been looking at the PSVR, and I had been looking at, I've got a pretty substantial gaming laptop. I've got a Dell XPS laptop, tons of RAM, dedicated graphics, like all that stuff. So I was thinking I could potentially in the future get the VR set that hooks up to the computer. But then you've got cords you got to have running to your headset. You've got sensors that you got to place in the four corners of the room. A lot of extra crap you have to buy.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And you're still attached. And I think that's the thing.
You're
that
still tethered.
PSVR, you have a ton of cables. Now they've condensed it down.
Yeah.
But the controllers suck. Everybody that's played it says you still have to hold the PlayStation controller in your hand to do any kind of actual games. Like some of the fun little ping pong games and stuff, you can use the motion controllers.
Yeah.
But because it uses the camera to see the light of the controllers, if the controller goes behind your back, it loses your hand. Like it can't find you.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to look at that, so I kind of let's do Oculus. Let's try that. That's the most popular one right now. And this thing is better than I ever imagined it would be.
No, I agree.
It's crystal clear. The sound is amazing, even with the built-in speakers that it has.
Yeah.
You have free roam. You can draw your play area out as big as you have room to make it. If you were playing in a gymnasium, you could literally draw the entire gym floor out as your play space, and you can walk all around through that.
Yeah, that's
like
awesome.
the minimum of 6.5 feet by 6.5 feet, but you can go up to 100 feet, I guess, if you wanted to. So that means less moving with the joysticks or the thumbsticks and more just walking around.
Actually physically
and
walking.
Yes,
I mean, and that's the thing. I will say, for the first time trying VR, it's eerie how real it feels when you first put on the goggles.
Yeah.
And it opens up this world of like, and that's the thing, it's supposed to be immersive.
Yeah.
But it's weird how like you feel like you're walking, and it's not until like this little kind of wire mesh comes up that you feel like
till you exit
you're like,
your space.
oh crap, I'm
like,
actually,
I've got a boundary
I'm not
here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not actually here.
Yes.
And it was so weird because even like the little demo that they showed, where you like picking stuff. I mean, that's the other thing. It's hard because you can tell they really fine-tuned the controls of. Like it's very intuitive how you pick things up, how you use the motion controls. It tries to make it as if you really are. They try to erase that barrier.
Yes.
As if you do have the goggles
and after
on.
you play for 30 minutes or so, you literally can forget that you're playing a game.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I watched my son play it, and there's a game on there that he likes the one that the kind of the introduction thing where you pick up the boxes and shoot the rockets and hit a ping pong. Like, he loves that stuff, but there's one simple game they have on there for free where you're in a forest with this little dinosaur-looking creature.
Yeah.
And you can pet it, you can give it a bath, you can feed it, you can play games with it and all this kind of stuff. And I watch him play it for about 15 or 20 minutes, and he's talking to it, and he's rubbing its head, and he's going, come here. You know, he has literally forgotten for a moment that he is in the living room. And he feels like he's there.
Not real, yeah.
And I'm just like, well, that's a 6-year-old. But then, you know, I do the same thing. I played through the second episode of this Star Wars Vader Immortal thing. And by the time it was over and the credits popped up, I was just kind of like, oh, like, I just stood here in my living room for an hour playing this. Yeah, I'm not really a Jedi because I literally like take on the stance of Obi-Wan Kenobi when I have the lightsaber in my hand.
You know, he takes off his helmet. He's like, "Give me the Mountain Dew."
Yes, because in the second episode you get to use the Force finally.
Yeah.
So you literally reach out and grab something and squeeze and pull it towards you, like draw it close to you, and you can throw it across the room. You can squeeze and crush it, like choke creatures, and grab a droid and squeeze it and break its like spinal cord. Like you can throw them into each other.
So
like
it makes
fantastic.
the violence of video games that much more real.
Exactly. It is.
So maybe
it's
we'll
just
have
amazing.
less mass shootings.
Yeah.
You could just do it in VR.
But beyond the games,
no, it's going to inspire more.
You know,
video games are evil.
On here, we talk about movies. And the first night that I had this thing home, I had Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I had it downloaded, and I mean, it immediately connects to my wireless media server, and I'm watching Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on a 200-inch screen in the middle of a movie theater with leather chairs that recline. And I mean, it is the light from the picture from the movie. That light illuminates the seats around you. So when it gets dark, the seats become dark, like you're in a real theater. When it gets brighter, the seats light up. It shows a reflection on the shiny leather seats.
Right.
Like, it is like sitting there, and I was sitting on my couch, and the only bad thing about it was it's not in surround sound. It's just stereo.
Yeah.
But watching this movie, all 3 hours of it, sitting there, like, I forgot that I was sitting on my couch. And when it was over, I took the headset off, and I know I've got like red marks on my face from this thing pressed up against me for 3 hours, but I'm like, dang, like that was a quick drive home from the theater. Like, I mean, it is so real. And to think that in the future, well, I mean, right now, if you have friends with it that have one, you can sit in that theater together and you can watch a movie together. and it's streaming from my headset, but I'm sharing it with other people.
And one day we can all be like the people in WALL-E and never leave our seats.
That was the weird thing. Is it's like
we'll never leave our seats
every single time. It's like we get closer and closer to that reality.
Yes,
and that's the scary part.
It is.
It is. It's like I sit there and it was like.
It's easy to think how easy it would be to never have to leave your, which is terrible. But I mean, at the same time, it's like
how you could fall into that
with grocery delivery, with food delivery, and then the virtual reality where you can just meet your friends online and never have to meet them in person. It's like it's so much easier now, and I'm not. It's not a good thing, but it's not a bad thing unless you never interact with people.
See, I don't think like you mentioned Ready Player One and stuff tonight, and I'm like, I don't think we're anywhere near that an immersive experience like that.
But it could happen.
But I mean, for an hour or two at a time, it's cool. I don't think it's something that someone could set and do all day.
Well,
but maybe it's a good thing that the battery only lasts about 2 hours.
Well,
because,
true.
I mean,
true.
That's one of the downsides to if you plug it in. It's got a 10-foot cord, so you could still move around with it. But I'm just saying, it's a good thing that it's just something that you can put on, have fun with your friends, or have fun by yourself. Pop it off and go on with the rest of your life.
Part of that's kind of my main reasoning why I don't think it's necessarily something where it's gonna take over even like the movie theater.
No,
because to me it's not. I mean, you're still wearing a device on your head.
Yeah,
you're still. I mean, until they get it compact enough. To where it almost feels. And I think that's where Apple.
It's
comes
very
in
lightweight.
With the whole,
I will say that
instead of VR, you have AR.
Yeah.
And I think that's what everybody is talking about is like when you have an augmented reality of holding like wearing glasses and things are popping up around you, and that's the world that's created where it's enhanced versus taken over. And whereas VR completely eliminates any of that, and it's still a cool world to dive into.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I do see VR kind of as more playful video game.
It's an escape.
It's an escape versus AR is much more of a practical, use it for every day.
Hey, if it gets as advanced as Ready Player One, it could one day be the way of the future.
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 I knew y'all were going to do that.
Yeah.
But I will say, because right now for me, I agree with you, Sean. I think it's something that it's fun to kind of be immersive and be immersed in for a while. To put the goggles on and it's cool. But it's not something that is practical enough for me right now to sit down and maybe enjoy like a full movie. It would be kind of cool if I had my own.
But it's not your every movie.
Yeah,
I mean, you still want to watch your television. You still want to, I mean, the bad thing about it is like, yes, you're sitting in this digital theater watching it on this huge screen. And let me tell you, I mean, it looks better than my TV. I mean, it does. Other than it not being an HDR, I don't think it's HDR. But it does have a 4K screen in there, and so to see it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks like the silver screen when you're watching it. But again, you can't get up and go to the bathroom. You got to take it off.
Yeah.
You can't.
Right.
I mean, I'm just saying it's got those limitations to where you wouldn't want to watch every movie like this. But I'm just thinking in the middle of the night when everybody else is in bed, it's like I can watch this and have that huge screen experience and loud sound in my ears, and nobody else hears it because I've got headphones in, or the downward speakers that it has built in. You can actually use your own Bluetooth headset with it, and nobody even knows you're using it. So I mean, it's kind of a, like I said, it's an escape or something like that.
Right.
But there's not a lot of games on it. Their library is only about 50 or 60 games right now. But really, though, if you think about a PlayStation game being $60, the most expensive Oculus game is $30, and there's plenty of games that have 10 or more hours of gameplay. The other thing is the size. Like, the biggest game is Vader Immortal, and each episode's about 3 gigs.
Yeah.
And it takes about an hour to play that, but it's like being in a movie. Like, it's story-driven. There's so much stuff going on. It's not just like you stand there and when stuff flies at you, you hit it. Like you're moving around through a world and you're having this awesome voice acting of Darth Vader, and this 6.5-foot guy is standing in your space and walking up next to you.
You're
very intimidated. Yeah. I mean, he is intimidating in the game. Like, he makes you feel small, and for them to be able to do that in a fake environment.
It's cool.
And you forget that you're in your living room and you think you're in. I
will say, it was definitely,
fantastic.
it was impressive. It was definitely something I myself am looking forward to seeing play out more down the road and to see how it evolves and advances.
Yeah.
It's definitely not something that I would say.
I wouldn't have spent my own money on it.
Yeah.
Because it's $400 for the cheapest one.
Yeah.
And it's $500 for one with a little bit more hard drive space.
I will say this, every bit of what we used it for impressed me enough that I don't think 400 is too much to ask for.
Yeah, if I had 400 to blow, I would get it.
Yeah.
It's the first time I felt like, VR is a viable gaming aspect, not just kind of a gimmick. Yeah. It's the first time it didn't feel gimmicky to me, which I liked. I mean, like you go back to Nintendo's Virtual Boy, which was the worst, which is the worst, which they actually have emulators for.
They have an emulator on here.
Yeah, you can play.
Yeah.
Does it give you the migraines?
I haven't tried it yet, but I saw it in the store.
The original Virtual Boy was notorious for giving people migraines. So I wonder if
it probably did. Trying to mind control. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, VR is, I think, here to stay. I think it's something that we will see more advances of in the future.
Yeah.
Especially in terms of film. I think so. But I think that's going to do it.
I think
this
it does.
Now,
if somebody wanted to share with us
Keith,
their opinions of terrible Christmas movies or The Irishman or even their own experiences with VR, how would they get a hold of? How would they communicate with us?
I don't know. It's on your screen.
Is it right here?
Right there. Right there on your screen.
Well, I'll be.
What is it?
What's it say?
I think it says. Let's see. RMPodcast at redmoonproductions.com.
He's right.
Really?
That's right,
That's
Sean.
good. You passed that eye test.
Barely. It's because I have my glasses on.
Oh, okay.
But it's really
See, if I take them off, it looks like it says.
Don't give people the wrong address.
No.
They're gonna screw it up. They don't email us already, so we don't need them really.
Killing our chances.
The one person that tries to email us sent it to them to what he said.
Well, you got it wrong.
Yeah.
Or you could message us on Facebook or YouTube.
We are everywhere.
We're on all.
We
the
need to get on
socials.
VR. Is what we need.
You
need to be able to watch Red Moon in VR.
You could be sitting.
Actually,
right
you
here.
can
in the studio with us.
You can on Facebook Watch. Like there's an app on there for Facebook Watch. So I should try that out later.
So wait. Do I could get like one of them 360 cameras?
Yes.
And set it like
it
right in.
It would be like someone's in the studio with us.
Oh gosh, they could sit there and watch.
They could turn around. They could see Klaus.
They could
In virtual reality, the Klauses can torment their viewers
their VR viewers.
Yes.
with their reign of evil and terror.
All right,
guys. That is gonna do it for us on this episode of the Red Moon Podcast. As always, I am one of your hosts, Brandon Davidson, alongside our normal new host,
Sean Sebastian,
and
Keith Cheatham.
So until next time, we will
see you at the movies. Star Wars.
That's it.
We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. For more reviews, previous podcast shows, and everything Red Moon, visit our website, redmoonproductions.com. You can also like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter by searching for Red Moon Productions, LLC. We'll see you at the movies.